Hey everyone, and welcome to Milo Game Reviews, where we review games both new and old on all platforms. My name is Milo, and if you like the content that I make, then please subscribe to the channel and click the notification bell so you never miss a review when it comes out. Today we're going to talk about Super Mario Odyssey, which is regarded by many as one of the greatest, if not the greatest platformer ever made.
9 times out of 10 I play games for the story. But Mario game stories are of course never that engaging unless it's a Paper Mario title. For this, Bowser has kidnapped Princess Peach once again and plans to marry her. In order to set up the wedding, he travels to multiple worlds to get certain artifacts, like a flower bouquet, a wedding cake, or sparkle water that sort of represents champagne. But like I said, you almost never play the Mario games for their story, but for its gameplay. And man, is its gameplay solid in this game. Many times the main franchise Mario games have a unique mechanic or gimmick that is central to its experience. Flood, for example, in Mario Sunshine, a game I absolutely adore even though it does not get that much love from within the Nintendo community itself. The main mechanic in Odyssey comes in the form of Cappy, your little rat hat friend with eyes that you can throw with the press of a button. By doing this, you can grab things like coins that are otherwise out of reach for Mario himself, or reach switches or take out enemies. But another very important mechanic is that many times you will come across enemies that when you throw your cap at them, you will possess them and suddenly get a whole bunch of new moves and abilities. For example, if you take control of a bullet bill, you'll be able to fly over large gaps, or if you take control of a chain chomp, you will be able to smash through large stone walls and barriers. Things get a lot crazier throughout the game with some really surprising possessions like a T-Rex, an actual tank, or the cheap fishes so you can freely swim underwater and don't have to worry about holding your breath. Of course, in Mario Odyssey you will travel from world to world, and there's no hub this time around like with Mario 64 or Sunshine. I believe you travel to 14 worlds, and some of them are instant classics and amazing to explore. But I have to admit that in the beginning, I wasn't blown away by some of the levels. The Cascade Kingdom, which is a dinosaur-inspired world, is very colorful and vibrant, where it's fun to explore, while amazing music accompanies you through its journey. The one after that, the Frozen Desert, was also an absolute joy, with colorful characters and a beautiful style inspired by the Festival of the Dead from Mexico. But the forest and water levels that followed felt a bit flat in terms of color and experience. It wasn't bad by any means, but it did not leave me in awe. The forest level is very mechanical as you maneuver your way through red-colored metal structures. In all honesty, it kind of reminded me of the Sonic the Hedgehog aesthetic. But even though these worlds would definitely not end up in my classic and all-time favorite Mario levels, some of the later ones would. Like the new Donk City level, which is just oozing with atmosphere and is a true joy to explore. The level is very vertical, and there are many nooks and crannies to go through and find all the collectibles. It also surprisingly does not feel weird that Mario is running through a city that is full of realistically rendered people, unlike it was with Sonic 06. But maybe that is also because there's no romantic interest in this game, unlike that god-awful Sonic game. Another standout is a tropical beach at a beautiful bay where the crystal clear water is just too inviting, where you cannot resist taking a dip. It brought me back to the good old Mario Sunshine days. Nowadays in 3D platformers, the key term is variety. Where 2D platformers were all about the actual platforming, with 3D ones, it is all about presenting varied gameplay. The varied gameplay in this case is presented often through the different characters that you can possess with Cappy. And so, for one moment you will be taking part in a race in the snow with chubby seal Eskimos, escape the jaws of a T-Rex next on a little moped, or head through one of the many short 2D sections that are a love letter to where it all began. In pretty much every world, there's a short section that often lasts 1 minute or less, where you go through a pipe and Mario turns into his old 8-bit character, where you have to then do a tiny bit of parkouring in the old style. This definitely brought back some nice nostalgia, and they do some really clever and unique things with this as well. A big thing in this game is collecting money to buy certain outfits with. There's a ton of outfits to collect, and if you are wearing a particular outfit and go to one of these 2D sections, that outfit is also displayed in an 8-bit style. They could have just switched the Mario character to his regular 8-bit model, but instead went through the effort to create unique ones for all the outfits too. Now that is dedication and polish. But Mario, of course, has always been about collecting stars or shines, or in this case, moons. How it always worked with Mario 64 and Sunshine is that you went into a world and selected a chapter. That chapter would resonate with a certain goal for which, if completed, would gift you a star and you would return to the hub. Then you would enter the world you just got the star from again and choose a different chapter for a new assignment. But in this game, it works a bit different. Often in every world there's a current goal you are heading to, which is pointed out by a large beam of light in case you get lost. Often, once you have completed the objective, a new part of the world gets unlocked and you go further or deeper down the rabbit hole. It is really dynamic and an interesting way of exploring the level, though we have seen it in previous platform games, albeit that it's done much better here. In Yooka-Laylee, for example, you could unlock new parts of the level by handing in certain collected items, while in Mario it just happens naturally once you complete the main objective and collect a moon. But what makes the biggest difference is that while you are heading to the objective and exploring all the nooks and crannies from each level, you come across a lot more moons which you can collect. These vary from finding something glittering in the ground and ground pounding on it to reveal a moon, to finding the quirky character Captain Toad in each level who will hand you a moon once you've spoken to him, or perform a certain task like dancing the hula with the residents of the beach resort. There are tons of moons to find, and I was surprised to leave some worlds with 30 moons in my pocket. In Mario 64 and Sunshine, each world only had 8 stars, and in Mario 64 you could collect 120 stars in total. Since I obtained so many moons in particular levels with Mario Odyssey, I automatically assumed that maybe the current number of moons to collect would be 240 or 250, around double of what Mario 64 was. But what I was not prepared for was to find out that after you are done with the main story, that you are free to explore all the worlds and collect all the moons, and that there are 900 of them. Holy cannoli, was I shocked. But then I was even more impressed, because it did not take me super long to complete the story. It's comparable to the other 3D Mario games, but the fact that you now can go back and go hunt all of those moons increases the playtime of this game significantly. I currently have 310 moons, so I'm only about 30% done with the collectathon. And I timed how much you can do if you only have a short amount of time. I set a timer for 30 minutes and managed to get 21 moons in one world in that short amount of time, meaning you can feel really accomplished even if you are busy and you can only play a short amount. The game really respects your time in that sense. There are also a ton of new and cool outfits to collect and unlock, and it just shows the effort that went into making this game another one to be proud of. If I had to have the slightest bit of critique, it would be that the Broodals, the bunny mini-bosses you often encounter, did not offer that much of an interesting challenge, and you have to fight all of them twice, meaning that the fights do sometimes feel a bit repetitive. But luckily, they are over quite fast. Super Mario Odyssey is an absolute gem, and finally made me smile again after all that boringness with Death Stranding. This is how you make a game. In the end, I give Super Mario Odyssey a 9.3. I am not sure, but this might be the current highest score on the channel, though my Witcher 3 might be slightly a bit higher, I don't remember. Though there are many more high quality Nintendo games out there for Switch, like Super Smash Bros., Mario Kart, and more, the only true contender to top Mario is the game that so many people are preaching about: Breath of the Wild.